A lot of businesses think that they have a lead problem. And to be fair, most of them do. When they're trying to scale, they're trying to get new clients, they need more leads, okay? And so what they do to fix that is start, posting on social media, running ads and doing things like that. Now, if you are successfully doing those things, you're going to hit another wall. You're going to hit a big wall. And I just had a conversation with a client yesterday. We went out there and I'm like, hey, how's everything going? Great. So many leads, 500 or 600 leads a month. They're spending like $3,000. It's crazy, okay? But the problem is when we look at all of those leads, so far they've gotten about 1,500 leads in the last few months. And from that, maybe closed 7 jobs. Not good, right? Like that's 0.2%, 0.3%, maybe it's 8 jobs, the return is already there in those first 8 jobs, but it sucks when month after, like this month or last month, you spend $3,000 on ads, you spend money on me to create the ads and run the ads, and then you don't close anything, okay? And I think this is such a great conversation to have, because what we need to figure out is we need to figure out if, one, they're good leads, and two, what is kind of broken in our messaging, in our system, and in our sales process to close those leads. Now, we're not a sales agency. We give you leads and you need to close them. But I don't believe in this whole all of our leads are great, or all of your leads are bad. Like there's a flow there, and these people are clearly interested. They're filling it out. My goal as a marketer is to drive that CPL down as low as possible. Higher converting stuff, stuff that gets more attention, stuff that gets people to engage and click through. The problem is certain businesses can't handle this. He's got one sales guy that's supposed to handle these 500 leads a month. Even if he's calling every single one right away and talking for 5 seconds or 10 seconds, it's gonna be hard to actually handle those. And so the discussion we had to have was about the lead volume. And we're gonna take some of the budget and we're gonna put it into some other campaigns like retargeting and things like that. But I wanna walk you through kind of the process that we discovered. Now, a lot of the businesses I talk to aren't at this point. Their salesmen are sitting around twiddling their thumbs, right? And that's one problem. Next problem is you get a fire hose and you spray your salesman with all these leads and say, hey, figure it out. Now they're stressed, way more stressed than they were twiddling their thumbs. So let me show you what we put in place to fix this, and I'll keep you updated as it goes. But essentially the problem that we're having is that we have too many leads. And I know what you're thinking, yes, I would agree that if we don't close all of these leads, or if we don't close any of these leads, like 10% or something, it's a lead problem. Look, I'm gonna take accountability and say if they're bad leads, they're bad leads. The problem is these people, I'll explain it. I guess I'll explain what I mean and how we're gonna avoid this. But you might be thinking it's a lead problem. It's not it's not a lead quality problem. There's steps that we can take, but let me explain it, okay? So problem we have, too many leads, right? Which is not good, because all of these leads are going over to AI. This is a calendar. And AI's scheduling them on the calendar. Once they schedule on the calendar, the salesman is going to go out and do an in-person consultation. And this is really, it's a sales, I don't know why his head's so big, but it's a sales visit, right? To get on the calendar, they've already gotten a rough estimate. This is our lead magnet that we use. This is what gives them an idea. This is how we collect the lead, right? So they've already gotten an estimate. Now, if their quote is about $105,000 and they still book an in-person estimate, I would say that they're a pretty good fit, right? If you don't typically go and book an in-person estimate if you've already gotten a quote. Now, if we were just blindly scheduling these leads and they weren't aware of the pricing before we go out, I would say, okay, potential lead problem, potential quality problem. So we're getting about, let's say, 1,500 here. Actually, let's do with just the month's data. 400, say 400 of these specific leads. On the calendar, we've done, let's say, about 55 appointments. Okay, so this is more than 10%, right? More than 10% of people are going from the appointment to, I think, hold on, let me switch this. I feel like it's so zoomed out. All right, so from all of these people, about 55 are scheduling, right? And not all of them are, following through. Some of them cancel, things like that. But from this, we've got 7 jobs. And so when you look at this, like, where do you think the issue lies? Right, probably somewhere in here, right, in the whole thing. Because again, if we look at the, well, actually from the 55, anyway. So when we look at this, where are we running out? Okay, so what we decided is that the problem isn't necessarily this, and the problem isn't necessarily this. Like, this is 10%, and I think closing 10%, pretty solid, not too bad, right? Booking more than 10%, not too bad. And here's the thing, we're only booking Monday through 5, oh my God, Monday through Friday from 8 to 3. They're 2-hour slots with a 1-hour buffer time before and after because of travel. Okay, so at most you can handle 2 to 3 a day. And if you've only got 25 workable days, or what would it be? 4 times 2, 8, 22 workable days, and you're booking 2 to 3, like, his calendar is completely maxed out, right? Like, if more people wanted to schedule, they couldn't schedule. And so to me, this is kind of the wall that we've hit. It's not necessarily about closing the leads, but it's that we can't overcome, how many people we can't schedule more people. And so 1,500 people all together. So let's just go completely all together. 77 appointments, let's say 7 jobs. Now these are rough. I think there's a little bit more here and there, but the cap is that even if more people wanted to schedule in that month, now, we can be scheduled out 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, but nobody wants to do that, right? Because they're in pain, and ideally they're trying to solve this problem before the summer's over, right? So the quicker we can get them on schedule to be, visited, the better. So essentially what we have to do is we have to cut our ad budget, right? And try and bring this down and really only work on the good leads. So if we go from, 3,000 a month to 50 a day, 1,500 a month, ideally we're going to 750 leads, which, still booking at 10%, gives us 75 people here, and then we're closing 7. But what this also does is this doesn't overwhelm the salesperson, right? The salesperson trying to deal with this huge problem. What he should be focusing on is these people. If they book an appointment, follow up, reach out beforehand, reach out after the fact, like, these become his main responsibility. And they only enter that zone when they book the appointment. And now what we can do with this extra 1,500 that we have is we can put that into nurturing people here, and nurturing people here. What do I mean by that? Well, essentially, we've got people here who didn't actually book an appointment because the time was way too far out. There wasn't any available slots, whatever it is. So what we need to do is we need to retarget them, a few times a day, a few times a week, and remind them to go over here, right? As spots open up, next month we've got more spots, we gotta do that. The other piece is to nurture the people who did have an appointment and educate them on the value of the company. This is where we talk about reviews, testimonials, finished projects, financing options, and the goal is to get them to move over to this stage. And then from here, we want to nurture them even more, get a review, things like that. So essentially, this budget is killing it for leads. Like, we are bringing in a shit ton of leads. What we need to do is figure out our process for getting this percentage up, which the solution is another person, and the process for getting this number up, which is focusing on this zone right here instead of focusing on this zone. Like, it would still be impossible to reach out to all 750, but we can create nurturing sequences, we can have AI, touch points, all of that stuff to get them over here. And once they're here, this is our salesman's thing. You know, he's gonna work them until they tell him to kick rocks or until they give money, you know, and this is where we need to be. And so the point of the story is that when you are creating ads, when you're creating content, when you're marketing your business, there's breaking points all along the way. There's breaking points when you get your first few clients and you figure out how to deliver. There's breaking points when you get way too many leads. There's breaking point, like it is a constant teeter-totter back and forth. And what you have to do is constantly review these things and figure out what's going wrong. It would have been really easy for us to say, hey, well, let's just stop running ads and work these leads. These leads get worked 2-3 months from now, you know, the pipeline moves along and now the pipeline's empty. That's a terrible idea. Hey, let's just hire a bunch of salespeople. You know, if we don't actually have the data to say, hey, well, you know, we're not booking these people. Our closing rate is pretty good. We're not booking enough people from these leads because we literally don't have time. That's a more informed decision, right? Or you say, fire the salesman because he sucks. We've got 1,500 leads. We only closed 7 things. Like, let's do that. Well, when you look a little bit deeper at the numbers, that's not really the case. Like, he's closing the stuff that he's working. The problem is we're looking at this big number that's not really moving into the schedule because we have a constraint. There's a lot of constraints on the business, and figuring out what the constraint is, figuring out how to work around it, is why it's so important to work with somebody who can dive deep and understand your business. So I just wanted to share that story. It was a good conversation, and like, you know, we're both busting our ass today to get everything lined up and get these constraints lined up until we hit the next constraint. But I mean, I'm like, dude, I mean, even if you sold 1% of those leads, like that's 150 people. I feel, right? Is that right? Hold on. Maybe it's 15, which is still better. Whoa. 15. Okay, it's 15. We're not even closing 1% of the leads. Like, we're closing 0.5%. This is so bad. And so what we need to do is figure out how to do that. If you have a business and you want to work together, you want to see what this looks like. I don't work with everybody. As you can tell, it's super in-depth. Like, most agencies won't do anything like that, right? They'll give you their intern who will work on your accounts, blah, blah, blah. Like, I love to dive deep. I love to figure this shit out, figure out ways to solve the problems. So we don't work with everybody, but if you want to see if it's a good fit for you and for us, click the link. There's a discovery call button. We'll just hop on a quick 15-minute call. I want to ask you some questions about your business. If it's a good fit, we can figure out what that looks like. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you got a little bit of value from this.